Hello everyone, Benji-Sales here, and today Nintendo finally made the announcement that many of us have been waiting for months, and that is that there is a new revision for Nintendo Switch hardware releasing this year. Now this has been widely rumored and widely reported by Wall Street Journal, for example, and I myself, dating months and months back, was talking about hearing of this existing, as well as another revision, by the way, which I'll go into at the end of this video in terms of where is the Pro. So I will touch on that at the end. So this video is really going to focus on how I think the Lite is going to impact the Switch in general, right? The regular Switch and the Lite, their combined sales, and looking forward, what kind of things we can expect out of it. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A segment. I was getting bombarded with questions on Twitter on my thoughts on this, so I actually made a post asking for questions and feedback, so I'm going to answer those at the very tail end of this video, and I got some good ones from you guys. So first, let's go into it, right? What is the Switch Lite? So Nintendo actually made a really nice comparison page here on their website between the two. The difference, regular Switch is $299.99, Switch Lite is $199.99. That's the right price point. That's exactly right. Had this been $249.99, I do not think it'd have near the market impact that it needs to for a handheld only revision, right? $199 is perfect. Good job, Nintendo. You came in right on that one. In terms of play modes, you can see here, right, the regular Switch, of course, does TV docking and all that sort of stuff, whereas the Lite is handheld only, right? That is its focus. In terms of Joy-Cons, the Lite does not include any. So, no HD rumble, no IR camera, nothing like that out of the box. Now, you can pair Joy-Cons with it from what I've seen. So, you can use Joy-Cons on it, but out of the box, right, if you just buy this system, there is none of that included with it. So you will have to go out and buy a pair of Joy-Cons if you don't have a Switch already and you want to play some of the games that utilize those Joy-Cons. No dock, obviously. And then in terms of dimensions, it's a little bit shorter. The regular Switch is 4-inch. This is 3.6. Regular Switch is 9.4 inches long. This is 8.2. So a pretty good reduction there in terms of the length of the system. Depth is the same. It's slightly lighter. The regular Switch is 0.88. This is 0.61 pounds. And then the screen's reduced from 6.2 inches on the regular Switch to 5.5. And then lastly, the last big thing to point out is the better battery life. So the regular Switch is 2.5 to 6.5 hours depending on the game, and the Lite is 3 to 7. One thing they point out is the regular Switch gets about 3 hours with Breath of the Wild, and the Lite gets about 4 hours. So it is nice to see, an hour boost of battery life for a handheld only. That's really good, right? So overall, that's your basic layout of what the system is. I think I think it looks good. I love the colors, right? These bright, vibrant colors. I think it looks good. I think it looks nice. I know some people wanted like a clamshell design, fold over, but it is not that, by any means. So, let's ask some questions here. What is my thoughts on how this is going to affect the market, right? That's the main reason you're watching this video probably, is just to hear what I have to say about, its sales impact. Firstly, this was the right time to bring it out. It's perfect timing, right before Pokemon. Be clear, this is designed to appeal to that 2DS, that DS Lite audience, right? That audience that's primarily under the age of 16, or is a more broad casual gamer, right? That maybe only plays, 1, 2, 3 games, every year or so. They're not the kind of people that are out there, downloading a ton of games on their Switch, getting a bunch of digital games, buying every single big first-party exclusive, getting the third-party stuff, the ports, right? It's more that broad casual demo, that Animal Crossing factor, right? So it's a good time to get it out. This is not targeted towards the core audience. Now, I'm sure Nintendo would love if, the core demo goes out and buys secondary Switches, to have on the go while their docked one stays at home. trust me, Nintendo will gladly take your money. So, they would love if those people, that are already neck deep in Zelda and all these other games to go out and buy another one. But that is not the target of this, right? This console does not exist to make the core fan base excited. It exists to get those young kids and those broad gamers into the fold, right? Because a lot of those people that bought 2DSs and DS Lites still don't own Switches. Matt Piscatella from Twitter, made a tweet about this today. A huge chunk of those gamers still do not own Switches. So this is to get those people in. And in terms of the hardware impact, I think Nintendo's going to completely obliterate their 18 million forecast for this year. That was already really conservative, I felt. I thought they were going to beat it anyways, just with Pokemon and the lineup that they have, and with how far ahead we've seen the Switch tracking this year. 18 million always seemed conservative to me, but now with the Lite, I think 20 plus million is possible. I'm not kidding. I really think it can go that high. I think 20 plus million is entirely feasible for this fiscal year. So I get why they were conservative on their forecast. They missed last year, and it didn't look great, right? They missed their original forecast, then they revised that down, and then they missed that forecast. So that's not good. But 20 million plus, I think, is entirely possible this year. So, yeah, I think it's a huge success. I think it's a smart move. I think it looks good. I think the features are good. All in all, I think this is a great time to release this handheld for the market. So yeah, that's going to sum up my basic thoughts on it. Let's go into Q&A now because some of you asked really good questions and I want to answer some of those. All right, so I apologize in advance. I'm sure I'm going to completely butcher and mispronounce many of your names or, your tags that you have here on Twitter. I apologize for that. I really apologize because I'm sure I'm going to butcher some of these. But let's kick this off. Some of these were some really good questions. So first we have Mo Salah. I'm sure I butchered that. Asking, how much will the 2-month wait affect sales? Seeing lots of hate from the people who aren't kids or parents, the target audience. Now, before I answer this, I want to also add another question to hear from Skit that said, here's a question for you. In the next 2 months, I'm very curious about how the current Switch will sell now that this has been announced. It's $100 cheaper, but it also has a different value proposition. Very good point. Do you think sales will slow down between now and when this launches? So basically, what do I think happens to the regular Switch now in July, August, and early September before the Lite gets here? Well, I definitely think that this does affect sales over the next few months, right? Definitely think it has an impact. Traditionally, before a revision comes out, it can have a detrimental impact on the market. That's why a lot of times companies wait, until really close to whenever they launch it to announce it because they don't want to slow sales of the current hardware. But I do think it's an astute point that, it's a different value proposition than the regular Switch, right? So this isn't really the exact same as whenever a PlayStation Slim or an Xbox Slim, S comes out, because those are fundamentally basically the same product. Now, don't get me wrong, the Slims are nice, they're smaller, they're thinner, they're quieter, et cetera, but in terms of features, they're basically the same thing. There might be one or two small differences, but it's essentially the same product. It's just a better, newer version of an older model, whereas this is completely different, right? It has a completely different feature set in that you completely lose the ability to dock. Like, it's not an option. You can't play this on your TV, whereas the traditional Switch can. So we're looking at a very different value proposition here. So while I do think that, the Lite announcement does slow things down the next couple months, right? Those people that were, going to pick one up for Pokemon over the summer, but they're really casual, or a parent that was going to, they might wait now until September because they're like, hey, I'm going to save $100 on this and I'm not going to play it on my TV screen anyways, So you might see a little bit on that. But I don't think it's going to be like a massive drop because those core people, right, the people that really want the best that Nintendo can offer in terms of hardware, especially when some are slow anyways, right? It's not exactly your super casual demographic buying consoles right now. That's more centered around the holidays. So, those people might not like the Lite anyways, right? They might not want a Lite. They might want the docking. So I do think it slows sales. but don't expect anything like catastrophic in terms of drops, I don't think. Japan's another story. Japan, it might hurt bad, right? Japan really likes their portables, and this is like straight, perfect for Japan. So different case for Japan. You might see a significant drop there, but in terms of like US, Europe, those areas, I don't think it's a huge impact in terms of drops before the Lite launches. Next question here from Zdark. Do you expect the Switch to drop price to $250 as well? The price of the Lite suggests that manufacturing cost is feasible for that retail price, and it can keep the original in good demand as the more feature-rich but still affordable version, I think. Well, on this one, I do not think that the regular Switch is going to get a price drop, right? And I think there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, the Switch itself selling amazing without a price drop. It's up, in basically every single market we have tracking in. Japan is significant double-digit percentage growth. US, significant double-digit percentage growth. The things we're hearing out of Europe and the UK and places like that are that the Switch is up year over year as well. So, the Switch is already selling very strongly, and that's without the Lite. So I don't think they really have any reason to drop the traditional Switch's price, right? Because they can get that extra profit from the regular Switch model, which is still going to sell side by side with the Lite. So, I don't think so in terms of that. And then secondary, I don't think it gets a price drop because I think that $100 price gap actually helps in differentiating the consoles, right? If you only have a $50 price gap between the two, I think it gets a little bit more murky, right? If I'm a casual, the thing is you always want to make your product as easy to understand for a broad casual type consumer, right? The kind that aren't on forums or on the internet reading everything. And that $100 gap actually helps in that, right? So if I'm a consumer and I walk in, I see, I don't care about all the bells and whistles. I just want a portable for my 10-year-old and I see $100 price difference. I'm like, yeah, that's really enticing. I feel like I'm getting a deal, right? My kid's going to still be able to play Pokemon and I don't have to spend that extra $100. Wow, what a deal I'm getting, right? So helps in that case. And then also helps, for that more core oriented person being like, hey, this is the more feature rich console. It's $100 more premium, but I feel like it's worth the extra $100 to get everything that the platform can offer. So I just don't think it goes down, right? I do think you'll see a lot of promotions this holiday. I do think you'll see it for $249.99 at places, like on Black Friday and Christmas time and general holiday season. I do think you'll see it at $249.99, but no, I don't think it permanently drops price for the regular Switch. Pierre Hughes Meyer here asks, do you think the announcement of Nintendo Switch Lite will affect sales of games releasing this summer? Super Mario Maker 2, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Astral Chain, for example. Not in any significant way. I don't think this hurts sales of those games at all. The regular Switch already has a huge install base, and people are really thirsty for games on the Switch right now, right? It hasn't had a ton of first-party support in 2019. It really just had Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which, while a good game, was a port of a Wii U game, and then Yoshi, which, again, is solid, but it's, a smaller-scale Yoshi title. So it's really been a pretty dry 2019 in terms of Nintendo support from themselves, and people are thirsty for those big exclusive Nintendo published games, and they're really hitting now. Mario Maker 2 and all those other games that you just mentioned. So I think people are going to be buying those up no matter what. They're not going to be waiting on them, and then it might give a slight boost to some of those as people go out and buy games while they wait for their Lite to release, right? You might see a little bit of that, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things that's like just huge boosts now from people buying games beforehand. Most people that are going to buy stuff are going to wait until their Lite, gets to them, and that day that they pick up their console, they'll also pick up some games for it. So don't think it really is a huge impact either way, but it might help games, slightly over the summer. It might a little bit. And then a question here from Mandy. Since Switch Lite has less features, do you think the rumored Pro is going to have additional stuff outside of stronger hardware? Do you think the Pro would launch around $400? Okay, so let's go into the Pro. Where is the Switch Pro, right? I had mentioned that I had heard of this console way back. I had mentioned I'd heard of it and a Lite mini type thing. And then Wall Street Journal has also reported the exact same thing, very credentialed reporting, that they have heard of both of these models existing as well. I can tell you that it has existed in some form. In some form of concept, the Pro existed. I have spoken to someone that has directly spoken with people familiar with the hardware. I'm not going to go any more into it than that. This isn't rumor mill. This is direct, right? So someone that is directly aware that a Pro type thing was at least explored. Whether that's going to end up hitting market, I don't know. I'll be honest. I have not heard updates on this in months. I haven't really been digging into this sort of thing. I figured it was still all hands go because Wall Street Journal was reporting heavily, very confidently that it exists as well. So yeah, I have no idea. I cannot speak to you on when, if the Pro releases. I can tell you it exists in concept. It is something that certain developers have even been made aware of was a thing, but I don't know how widely that was circulated or anything like that. But it existed in some way. So, hopefully we see it soon. But in regards to your question, I don't think this year, by the way, in terms of that. I think it is 2020. I do not think it's 2019 if it's coming, right? If it's still a product that they went past exploratory phase and into actual, all right, let's make this a thing. It's not going to be this year, probably 2020. But in terms of your question, additional features, no idea. Never heard anything about that. The only thing I had communicated to me was that a more powerful version of Switch hardware was being looked at, was being asked about to certain developers. But in terms of features, right, like other things that the product can offer besides raw power, no idea. Have not heard anything about that. My guess would be, maybe it might have a few more bells and whistles, but no idea. In terms of the price, $400 I think would be a mistake. I just think that's a little bit too steep for Nintendo hardware of any kind. Not knocking Nintendo. I think Nintendo's great. I think Nintendo's awesome, but I think that's just a huge ask. I don't know how many core Nintendo fans you have that'll go out and spend $400 on a product, right? I just don't know. I think 300 is the sweet spot, which actually is easier to do if they wait until 2020, right? If the Pro is a real thing, then 2020 probably makes more sense because they can probably get more power into it at a cheaper price point. I think the Pro's got to be 300. In fact, if you watch my original video on this I did on this YouTube channel, I had mentioned I thought it was going to replace the standard Switch, right? That the Switch Lite mini was going to release, and then the regular Switch would be phased out with this Pro model. That was just my theory. I had not had someone tell me directly, like, hey, regular Switch is going away. I had reason to believe that that's the direction they might take, that the Pro would just replace the standard Switch, but I don't know. Can't speak to any of that for certain. I don't want to mislead you and say this is exactly what's going to happen, the price or whatever. So my opinion is needs to be 300. Don't think 400 works for them, and not sure what bells and whistles it might have. All right, everyone. I think that's going to sum up all my thoughts on the DS Lite, what it's going to do on the market, if it's a good product or not. I think it's great. I think everything that they're advertising is perfect for the demographic that they're trying to sell it to. Again, remember, this doesn't have to excite you, right? If you're a core gamer, you don't have to be excited about this. But for the kids, for the broad demo, I think they're doing great with it. I think the design's great. And the features are really good for it. Price is perfect. So, yep. Anyways, if you like the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the channel out a lot. And make sure you follow me on Twitter at Benji-Sales. I talk a lot about video games in general, but specifically about sales in the business side of the industry, but also general gaming news and thoughts as well. Thanks as always for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.